There are days when your heart feels strangely restless, even when everything around you looks fine. You wake up, you go through the motions, you smile when you need to, you say the right things, but deep inside something feels unsettled, like you're missing something, like what you have right now is not enough. And maybe you don't even say it out loud, but the thought lingers quietly, is this really it? Maybe you've looked at someone else's life and felt that small, sharp ache. They seem ahead, more successful, more secure, more loved, more everything. And you wonder why your life doesn't look like that. You try to be grateful, you really do, but comparison creeps in anyway. It always finds a way in. And before you even realize it, what you once prayed for starts to feel ordinary. What you once called a blessing begins to feel like a burden. And your heart starts chasing something else, something more, something better, something that always feels just out of reach. There are moments when you sit quietly and think, if only I had that, then I'd finally feel at peace. Only your situation changed, if only your finances improved, if only your relationships were different, if only your life moved faster, if only God answered that one prayer the way you expected, then things would finally make sense, then you would finally feel content. But here's something most people don't say out loud, that feeling of not enough doesn't disappear when you get what you want. It just changes shape. You reach one goal and suddenly there's another. You receive one blessing and suddenly it doesn't feel like enough anymore. You fix one problem and another takes its place. It's like chasing the horizon. No matter how far you go, it keeps moving. And somewhere along the way, without even realizing it, you stop living in the moment God has given you, and you start living in a future that doesn't exist yet. You stop seeing what's in your hands. Because your eyes are fixed on what isn't, you stop appreciating the quiet, steady goodness of today because your heart is restless for tomorrow. And in that space, peace slowly slips away. There's a verse that speaks directly into this struggle, quietly but firmly. Hebrews 13:5 says, "Be content with what you have, because God has said, 'Never will I leave you, never will I forsake you.'" It doesn't say be content because everything is perfect. It doesn't say be content because life is easy. It says be content because God is with you. That changes everything. Because contentment is not about having everything you want. It's about knowing you already have what matters most. But that's not always easy to believe, is it? Because life can feel incomplete. There are empty spaces, unanswered prayers, delayed promises, dreams that feel stuck. And in those spaces, it's natural to feel frustrated. It's natural to ask questions. It's natural to wonder if something is missing. Maybe you've prayed and waited, and nothing changed. Maybe you've worked hard and still feel behind. Maybe you've given your best and still feel overlooked. And deep down, there's a quiet disappointment that you don't always know how to express. You trust God, but you also feel tired. You believe, but you also struggle. You hope, but you also wonder how long this season will last. And in that tension, contentment can feel almost impossible. Because how do you feel satisfied when things don't look the way you hoped? How do you rest when your heart is still waiting? How do you accept today when you're still praying for tomorrow? But what if contentment isn't about settling? What if it's not about giving up on your desires or pretending everything is okay? What if it's something deeper than that? Philippians 4:11-12 says, "I have learned to be content whatever the circumstances, whether living in plenty or in want." That word, learned. Contentment doesn't come naturally. It's not automatic. It's something you grow into, something God gently teaches you over time. And often, He teaches it in the very seasons you wish would end. Because contentment is not found in changed circumstances. It's found in a changed perspective. It's when your heart begins to trust that what God has given you today is not a mistake. That this moment, this season, this place in your life is not random, even if it feels uncomfortable. Even if it feels incomplete, even if it doesn't match your expectations, God is not careless with your life. He is intentional, even in the waiting, even in the silence, even in the parts that don't make sense yet. There are moments when you feel like you're standing still while everyone else is moving forward, like you're stuck while others are progressing. And it's hard not to question it, hard not to compare, hard not to feel left behind. But what if you're not behind? What if you're exactly where you need to be? What if this season is not punishment, but preparation, What if God is doing something in you before he does something for you? Because sometimes the greatest work God does is not around you, but within you. He shapes your patience. He strengthens your faith. He deepens your trust. He removes things that would have harmed you later. He builds a foundation that can actually hold the blessings you're asking for. But we don't always see that in the moment. We just feel the delay. We just feel the absence. We just feel the tension between where we are and where we want to be. And in that tension, it's easy to believe that something is wrong, that your life is lacking, that God is holding back. But what if God isn't withholding, but protecting? What if he isn't delaying, but aligning? What if what you don't have right now is actually saving you from something you can't yet see? That doesn't make the waiting easy, but it gives it meaning. And meaning changes how you endure, because when you know there's purpose in your present, you stop resenting it, you start leaning into it, you start asking different questions. Instead of why don't I have more, you begin to ask, what is God teaching me here? Instead of when will this end, you begin to ask, how can I grow through this? And slowly your heart shifts. Not all at once, not perfectly, but gradually you begin to notice things you used to overlook, small blessings, quiet moments, unexpected kindness, the simple gift of being alive, the breath in your lungs, the fact that you made it through things that once felt impossible. You begin to see that your life is not empty, it's just not what you expected. And that difference matters, because expectations can blind you. They can make you miss the beauty of what's actually in front of you. They can convince you that your life is lacking, even when it's full. And God doesn't want you to live like that. He doesn't want you constantly chasing what you don't have, while ignoring what he's already given. Because what he's given you is not small. It may feel ordinary, but it's not insignificant. There are people who would pray for the life you're living right now. There are people who would see your normal as a miracle, and that doesn't invalidate your struggles. It just brings perspective, because contentment grows where gratitude is practiced, not forced, not faked, but intentionally chosen. Even when it's hard, even when your feelings don't match, you pause and you notice, you acknowledge, you give thanks, and something shifts inside you, because gratitude changes how you see. It softens the noise of comparison. It quiets the constant need for more. It reminds your heart that God has not forgotten you, that he has been present all along, even in ways you didn't notice at the time. There are moments when you look back and realize how far you've come. Things that once overwhelmed you no longer have the same power. Situations that once scared you, you've survived. Doors that once closed led you somewhere better. And you begin to understand God was working, even when you couldn't see it. So why would he stop now? Why would this moment be any different? He is still working, even here, even now, even in the ordinary, even in the waiting, even in the uncertainty. And maybe instead of asking God to rush the next chapter, you can begin to trust him in this one, to live here, to breathe here, to be present here, not because everything is perfect, but because God is present. And that changes everything. There's a quiet strength in contentment. It doesn't shout. It doesn't demand attention. But it steadies you. It anchors you. It keeps your heart from being tossed around by every change, every delay, every comparison. It allows you to walk through life with a sense of peace that doesn't depend on circumstances. And that kind of peace is rare, because most people are chasing something, always reaching, always striving, always thinking the next thing will finally satisfy them. But it never fully does, because the soul was never meant to be satisfied by things. It was meant to rest in God. And until it does, it will always feel restless. No matter how much you gain, no matter how far you go, that rest, that deep, quiet contentment comes when you stop trying to control everything and start trusting the one who already does. When you release the pressure to have it all figured out, when you stop measuring your life against others, when you let go of the timelines you created, and simply say, God, I trust you with where I am, because it's easy, but because you know he is faithful. Even when life feels uncertain, even when answers are slow, even when your heart still has questions, trust doesn't mean you understand everything. It means you believe God is good even when you don't. And that belief, that quiet, steady trust, is what makes contentment possible. So if your heart feels restless today, if you've been struggling to feel satisfied, if you've been comparing, questioning, waiting, wondering, you're not alone, but you don't have to stay there. You don't have to live in constant dissatisfaction. You don't have to chase something that will never fully satisfy. You can choose a different path, a quieter one, a deeper one, a path where you learn to see God in what you already have. And maybe right now you can just pause, take a breath, and be still for a moment, because God is not distant from you. He is here right now, closer than you think. And maybe it's time to speak to Him, not with perfect words, not with rehearsed phrases, just honestly. Just simply, just as you are. God, I don't always understand where my life is going. There are moments when I feel like I'm missing something, moments when I compare, when I doubt, when I feel restless inside. And I know I don't always appreciate what you've already given me. Sometimes I overlook it. Sometimes I take it for granted. Sometimes I focus so much on what I don't have that I forget what I do. Forgive me for that. Forgive me for the times I've been ungrateful. For the times I've questioned your timing. For the times I've believed that my life was lacking when you were still providing. Help me see differently. Help me slow down. Help me notice the blessings that are already around me, even the small ones, even the quiet ones. Teach me how to be content, not because everything is perfect, but because you are present. Help me trust you in this season, even if it's not where I want to be, even if I don't see the full picture yet. Even if I still have questions, remind me that you are working, even when I can't see it, that you are guiding, even when I feel uncertain, that you are with me, even when I feel alone. Take away this constant need for more, this pressure to measure my life against others, this restlessness that keeps pulling my heart away from peace. Replace it with something deeper, something steady, something rooted in you. Give me a grateful heart, a heart that recognizes your goodness. A heart that finds joy in what you've already given. A heart that trusts that what I have today is not a mistake, that this moment matters, that this season has purpose. And God, I surrender my expectations to you, the timelines I created, the plans I held onto, the outcomes I thought I needed. I place them in your hands, because you see what I don't, you know what I can't, and your ways are higher than mine. So teach me to rest, not in circumstances, but in you. Teach me to be content. Right here, right now, amen. And as you sit in that quiet moment, let this truth settle gently into your heart. You are not behind, you are not forgotten, you are not lacking in the way you think you are. Your life right now holds more meaning than you realize, more purpose than you can see, more of God's presence than you've fully noticed. And maybe, just maybe, this moment you've been trying to rush past is actually one of the most important ones, because it's here that God is shaping you, grounding you, drawing you closer, teaching you something that success, speed, and achievement never could, something deeper, something lasting, something that will stay with you long after everything else changes. So don't rush it, don't dismiss it, don't overlook it. Be here fully, honestly, openly, because God is here too. And He is not in a hurry. He's patient, He's steady, He's present. And He's inviting you to trust Him, not just with your future, but with your today. And that is where peace begins.